And I had filled my schedule with Latin, Greek, ancient history, and everything to go with it. I was completely enthralled and captivated. And the reason for that is once I started getting a deeper sense of the material, once I started really engaging the material, I fell in love with it. Everything about it, the language, the people, the adventures, the passion that is not only embodied in classical literature itself, but in the people who love it and the people who teach it. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about the classics is that it's really the root of Western liberal arts education. I was fascinated by history, by archaeology, by anthropology, and these beginning studies in the ancient languages, Latin and Greek, and the history that bound the ancient world together, satisfied my desire to kind of have all 10 fingers and toes in different pies. Mm-hmm. Success is a very elusive and broad term, but for me, success is when a person that knows enough to know what they want gets what they want. Mm-hmm. Now that, of course, is very broad in the beginning, because there's the question, well, how does a person know what they want? Mm. And this, I think, is where the liberal arts education really, really hits home. I think there's no better preparation to answering this question, what do I truly want, than the liberal arts experience. The exposure to so many different facets of thinking, different perspectives, different ways of looking at the same material.
You were unusual in spending a whole year during a junior year in Italy. What did you take away from that experience?
Well, I'd have to say that basically my outlook on the rest of my life, it was the cultural immersion that I was able to experience there, the basic language skills I acquired, the real feel for the people and culture is something that's never left me. The difference between reading about something in a book, reading about a people, interacting with someone on a very, hello, how are you basis, with a very limited vocabulary, compared to being able to almost meet with somebody on their own terms, feel things from their perspective. It's indescribable. There is an incredible cultural awakening that happens within a person when you are literally out of your element. It makes you learn a lot about yourself. It makes you rethink everything that you had considered to be normal. And as an archaeologist and an anthropologist, it is an invaluable tool. That mindset is an invaluable resource.
It's a fascinating part of the sort of Mediterranean history of classical archaeology. So I was aware that John had been collaborating with these friends in Ukraine at the Center for Underwater Archaeology in Crimea, and was very encouraged by this because it's not an easy place to work, and it's not a place where many students have had opportunities, and I think I was very impressed by the fact that that it was a project he had clearly participated in, but was also committed to. I mean, there was clearly a great trust and mutual respect, and I think the future there is very bright, both for John, and I hope for Ina, and I hope for archaeology, in general.
Yeah. So many bronzes from the ancient world. So much material has been lost. The sculptures, the marble sculptures to the lime kilns, the bronzes to the roofs of various structures or other mundane materials. And so the water, in this sense, even though it pits and corrodes and can damage some of the material, really saved it. The water preserved these treasures for us. And that day, I thought something that has never left me since. If this material was there, what else is there? What else is there under the waves? That is the first thing I think of when I wake up every morning, and that is what drives me.
Behind me is the reconstructed hull of the Belle. Now, this ship was designed and built in France in 1684. She's a small bark long, about 54 feet in length, and was designed as a kit to be brought to the New World and built here. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough space in the mothership, so they had to unload the ship, build her. She sailed across the Atlantic, and unfortunately she was wrecked on the coast of Texas. You're looking at the remains of the vessel, 33%, the bottom half of a vessel. So you think of a vessel sailing across the bay, it ran aground, and over 300 years it tilted over and sank into the mud. And the top 1/3 eroded away. The archaeologists found her, and think of a bowl of candy. This bowl was filled with artifacts. Artifacts are counted by lot numbers. Archaeologists use these to track the artifacts. We have over 11,500 lot numbers from the wreck, and then we have the wreck itself. 381 integral timbers that made up the remaining portion of the wreck. This was recorded in the field, disassembled and shipped to us piece by piece. In the lab, all the pieces were cleaned, and students in the nautical archaeology program who were studying for graduate degrees, a master's or a PhD in nautical archaeology, then reconstructed the hull you see behind me. The artifacts themselves are a wonderful time capsule that date back to the 1680s and give us an insight as to what was needed to start a colony in the New World. La Salle came to Texas to start a colony to build a fort. He had to bring everything here to do so. So he brought firearms to defend the fort. He brought foodstuffs. He brought tools. He brought men. He also brought trade goods because he wanted to trade with the local Indians. And all of these were found in the wreck that give us a very good insight as to what daily life was like and what life was like on board the vessel and what life was like on the fort when they were starting out. A wonderful part of the project is the fact that one of the people with La Salle, Henry Joutel, was a soldier, and he was also a journalist and kept a diary. This diary survives today and has been translated and printed in English, and you can read about La Salle's journey to the New World, finding Texas, starting the fort, and trying to find the mouth of the Mississippi and failing it. It's also a story of how he lost his life and how the few remaining men managed to walk back to Canada to get help.